Good evening and welcome to another edition of Tigers Roar. I'm Tommy Krysan of Pelican Sports TV, joined by Chris Landry, NFL scout and Fox Sports football analyst, live and in color from Studio A at the empire known as Pelican Broadcasting. Chris, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing well, Tommy. Good to be with you as always.
We got these new microphone things going tonight.
Yeah, you know, it's always a challenge.
Huh?
Keep me on my toes there with that.
Yeah, always doing
for the
something.
electronically challenged as am I.
Hard to believe, Chris. It was pointed out in the post-game show last week here on Pelican Sports TV. 25% of LSU's regular season schedule is in the history books, albeit 3-0 and looking good, and with a big trip that we'll talk about extensively tonight and a big-time opponent that we'll talk about tonight. Quarter pole, you're 3-0, and you can't be any better than that.
Season goes by. I always think the college football season goes by incredibly fast. I mean, you really, you turn a page. It's going to be October, and you're right. It's going to be even closer towards the middle of the season, the end of the season. It just flies by, and the early season schedule you get everybody getting towards conference play, and we're going to see that in another week or so, and it's going to go by even faster, there's no question.
We certainly want to welcome everybody watching in Baton Rouge, Lafayette, and New Orleans, and all over the world on the internet at PelicanSportsTV.com. The show does stream there for your friends and family outside of South Louisiana. And a special hello to everybody in the Florida Panhandle and Lower Alabama. I did a little radio bit tonight with Southern Sports Tonight and Scott McKinney, based in Fort Walton Beach, big FM station over there. And we were pumping up Tigers Roar, and lots of folks, as they have done in the past, watching us from the Panhandle area on the internet at PelicanSportsTV.com. Find us on Facebook at Pelican Broadcasting. That's a great way to keep up with any and all of the activities of Pelican Sports TV, known for the hunting, the fishing, the outdoors programming, as well as Pelican Sports Radio, the YouTube page, the Twitter account. You see it all on your screen. Pelican Sports Radio is heard Monday through Friday from 3 to 4 p.m. in Baton Rouge on the Score 1210 a.m. That also streams online at thescore1210.com. Pelican Sports Radio with Chris Landry and me, Tommy Krysan, taking your phone calls, a couple of different features during the week, mixing it up, as we like to say, Monday through Friday afternoons from 3 until 4 p.m. Also on the Score 1210 a.m. and streaming online at thescore1210.com each and every Thursday. It's an edition of the Chris Landry Show, where it's football, college and or pro, with the expert, the guy that's been there and done that. Chris, give everybody a hint of what you'll have on this week's edition of the Chris Landry Show.
Well, we're going to focus in, as we're going to do tonight, at the West Virginia Mountaineers and that game against LSU. We're going to break down the Saints and the Texans, some other key NFL matchups, some key college matchups. Oklahoma State, Texas A&M shapes up to be a good one. We'll give all the latest news and notes from around the world of college football and the NFL. Focus a little bit, talk a little bit about conference realignment, the latest on that. So a lot of stuff to get to. Hard to fit it in an hour, but if you tune in, we'll find a way to do it for you. Yeah,
we'll certainly do that for you. Chris, as I mentioned, I was on the radio today on a 100.3 FM, the Sports Ticket out of Fort Walton Beach. I was on KZMZ in Alexandria and Senla, and Jordan Jefferson was a topic instantly upon both shows I was on. We sit here on Wednesday night taping this show live. Not a lot to report, but let's give the very latest.
Well, listen, obviously the legal process is going through its process, and there's a lot of rumors about what could happen, and it being, the charges being dropped down. I mean, there's a lot of situations. So as that plays out, and this from a coaching perspective and an administrative perspective, as the legal process renders whatever decision it's going to render, and it's official and not speculated on, but just be officially done, then the way you handle it is if it's a positive vein, then I think you meet with your players, you meet with your unity council, which is everybody has some form of that, and I think you see on where you are as a team with accepting a young man in this situation back, both of them. And if that is something that they choose to do, obviously Les Miles has the final say-so on that, and then it brings them in. I know we're already getting the question, should he start? It's not even to that point yet. Let's kind of just deal with it, let it happen from a legal standpoint, and then I think that certainly there's a possibility he could be back on the team. I can tell you that Les is going to take it and kind of take it to his team, but ultimately make the decision that he feels right for the program, for this team. And I think he knows how to avoid making this a distraction, and certainly it's not a case where they're going to be an unbeaten team, and they got a new quarterback suddenly that's just been re-put on the team. That's not going to happen. That's not going to happen, and not to say that at some point he wouldn't play, but there are a lot of things that need to happen for that to play out.
Yeah, so that's really the very latest, and it could be next week sometime between the West Virginia and Kentucky game when we know something. It could be later, but it's not going to be tonight. Don't think it'll be this week, as one of the reports I read with the legal process still needing some more steps. We're going to have a lot of good stuff for you tonight. We're going to recap the LSU victory over Mississippi State. We'll get comments from Coach Miles and the players. We've got some LSU players, 3 of them, in fact, who picked up some recognition and awards during the week. We'll talk about the road trip to Morgantown, West Virginia. Chris will do his very best to give you the West Virginia preview. We'll have comments from Coach Dana Holgerson, the head coach of the Mountaineers. We'll talk about their scheme, their offense, some of their key players. We'll break down LSU, go through the offense, the return of Russell Shepard, the defense, special teams. We'll get into all of that. We will hear from Brian Lazar of TigerBait.com at some point during the show tonight. We'll take our weekly run through the LSU athletic department. We got a little volleyball, a little soccer, some baseball, and a golf note about a former All-American LSU golfer. A couple of notes about him as well. As time permits, we'll go around the SEC with Chris Landry tonight. We'll remind you that Kentucky game on October 1st, the next home game for the Tigers, an 11:20 a.m. kickoff on the SEC network. And then we'll talk a little bit about the conference shuffle. That stuff's still shuffling around, Chris. Like, it almost seems like every hour something else is happening with the Pac-12, the Big 12, the Big East, the ACC. Fortunately, the SEC is kind of sitting tight.
Well, it is, and just some new developments, just to stay tuned. New developments since we got off the air today on our radio show. So this is going to continue until it all settles, and trust me, it's going to be a long time before it all settles.
And don't forget, immediately following that LSU-West Virginia football game Saturday night from Morgantown, about 10:30, maybe a few minutes after that, we'll have the Phones First WJBO Pelican Sports TV postgame show with Richard Condon, local sports icon, radio icon. Richard Condon will join me and Phones First. Your phone calls on the WJBO, which is 11:50 a.m. in Baton Rouge, streaming at WJBO.com, and Pelican Sports TV, Baton Rouge, Lafayette, New Orleans, and streaming at PelicanSportsTV.com. So catch that post-game show right after that game. When that game clock says 0:00, next 5, 6, 7 minutes, we're on the air taking your phone calls. Richard Condon and me, Tommy Kryson. We appreciate the tremendous response and viewership and listenership last week as we did that after the Mississippi State game on a Thursday night. We'll come back and recap that Mississippi State contest where the Tigers picked up the road conference victory, as you know. With Chris Landry, I am Tommy Krysan. This is Tigers Roar, Baton Rouge, Lafayette, and New Orleans, right here on Pelican Sports TV.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Heinen, Miss Louisiana Team USA 2011.
And I'm Paige Pennick, Miss Louisiana USA 2011.
And you're watching Pelican Sports TV.
40 years, 4 decades, nearly half a century. That's how long the citizens of Greater Baton Rouge have chosen Richards Honda. A simple, sincere, and honest process.
Louisiana's oldest and most experienced Honda dealership for over 40 years, Richards Honda.
Hello, my name is Debbie. Welcome to Debbie's Bridal, a formal affair.
Come see the many great lines we carry in bridal, bridesmaids, mothers, flower girls, tuxes, and more. We also carry over 25 top designer lines in debutante gowns, Mardi Gras, pageant, and prom. Come meet me and my staff with over 30 years of bridal and pageant experience. Debbie's Bridal, a formal affair, Burnside and Gonzales, where service matters.
BetterBatonRougeJobs.com has been extremely beneficial for the TM Automotive Group. And what stands out to us, it's easy to use, not only for us, but it's easy for the applicants. And it's the quality of applicants that we get. It's timely. We post something in the morning. By that afternoon, we have double-digit applicants. And again, it's the quality of the applicants.
Employers, now is a great time to hire, recruit, and look for potential new employees.
BetterBatonRougeJobs.com. It's free for job seekers and great for business.
Our primary fundamental belief is that better ingredients, better pizza is quality, and that's what Papa John's is all about. Nobody does what Papa John's does.
Right now, get any large pizza with your choice of toppings, even our signature specialties, only $11. That's right. Order now at papajohns.com and get any large pizza with any toppings, just $11, only at papajohns.com.
Better ingredients, better pizza, Papa John's.
40 years, 4 decades, nearly half a century. That's how long the citizens of Greater Baton Rouge have chosen Richards Honda. A simple, sincere, and honest process.
Louisiana's oldest and most experienced Honda dealership for over 40 years, Richards Honda.
We continue with Tigers Roar. Thanks for tuning in. This show is live each and every Wednesday night from 8 until 10 p.m. If you're catching this on a Thursday, Friday, or Saturday on one of the many outlets we have, you got a replay going. We appreciate you taking time to listen to that. It does air in New Orleans on Friday nights at 5 p.m. on WHNO TV Channel 20 out of New Orleans, a rebroadcast of this program. So spread the roar about Tigers Roar. Chris, LSU 19, Mississippi State 6. We get a look at some of the stats there, some key stuff as you look at as we go through the numbers.
Well, listen, I mean, I thought that LSU really did a good job at the line of scrimmage, and they were patient. I thought they were efficient on offense. You take a look at some of the numbers here, and you see the rushing yards, a big difference, and particularly as it relates to Mississippi State and holding them. But you saw the effectiveness in the passing game when they needed to. It really, you see the numbers kind of play out there. Getting good pressure, the 4 sacks, third down conversions were not real effective, but they really were outstanding on first downs. They were like 10 for 10 on first downs in the passing game and were very, very effective running the football on first down. So as opposed to third downs, you see some of the big plays here, and that Mississippi State were playing often soft, as what we call, in from a coverage standpoint. And I thought that LSU ran the football well. They worked the underneath passing game, and then when Mississippi State started to crowd it a little bit, then that was the difference. You see some outstanding defensive play here, but you see as their coverage started to adjust a little bit, you see the sack pressure here. But I thought they did a good job of adjusting to the tighter Mississippi State coverage by working the ball downfield a little bit more. That was the difference. I thought they were just really patient against an 8-man front most of the night. They were able to run it effectively, and you see this as a result of more tighter coverage. They set this up, and they were able to make a couple of big plays, including this touchdown, as they really did a good job of stemming that route, getting the corner to bite on it, and really nice play right there. It was, I thought, a very effective performance by Jarrett Lee. I thought they really did a good job with the slants and the screen games early and kind of set it up, develop a comfort level. I thought they ran the football very effective. Lee was 10 for 10 on first down throws, and it was a lot of short, safe stuff, but that's important, and not as nearly as effective on third downs, 2 for 6. And you talk a lot about it. A lot of it was throwaways, but against coverage where it's at a passing down, if you're not an overly effective passing team, you don't want to throw into the teeth of coverage when they're expecting you to. You want to really get that surprise element in. I thought they had some opportunities, Tommy, on first downs to make some more big plays, but they never really felt like they needed it a whole lot. I think they felt like they had this game somewhat in control, even though it was 6-6, 9-6 into the fourth quarter. I thought they felt like they had the game in control, and they were able to take judicious opportunities with the passing game, and that was effective enough against a Mississippi State team that I thought on their offensive line, Mississippi State held in for a little while, but they just they couldn't hold up against LSU's defensive front pressure the entire game.
Well, and of course that game was played on Thursday night in Starkville, the short week, the different schedule. Here are some comments from Coach Les Miles and the players talking about the last week, the short schedule, the Thursday night game in Starkville, and then returning to a regular schedule with this week's contest Saturday night in Morgantown against West Virginia.
Yeah, you never like to stall out like we did a couple times. I felt like we were doing a very good job of, putting long drives together. We had a lot of time possession, but obviously, like you said, we'd love to translate that into 7 instead of 3, especially that first drive, getting all the way down to the 4 and then kind of getting stopped. That was pretty frustrating, but I'm just proud of how everybody responded. Everybody just kind of stuck to the game plan, nose to the grindstone, just kept going, kept grinding away. And eventually it was kind of like, like waves on a rock or something, just wore them down, and then we managed to break through.
Last week Mississippi was a heavy rushing team. This week it's a heavy passing team, so it's a new challenge for us. We got to stay mentally focused and go out and try to win another game.
Excited by the fact that our team, getting in late the week before, really, understood and got the game plan really in short order in a very short week?
Well, I think this week going to be a lot like last week because we actually shortened practice time and spent more time in the film room and doing walkthrough and stuff like that, and that's making it better for us on the mental aspect and more physical.
Yeah, I can tell you that this weekend there was some needed rest. Gave the players off Saturday. I took in 2 football games. There was a swim meet or 2 and a soccer game. And I think the Miles family certainly enjoyed the events. Looking forward to, again, getting to this game.
Chris, you have an analysis about the first downs in the ball game against Mississippi State.
Well, when breaking down the tape, we always talk about third downs and staying out of tough down and distance situations. Well, you do that by being effective on early downs, first downs. LSU held Mississippi State to a -5 yards on 24 first downs. That's a big factor there. And 11 of the 15 tackles for losses that LSU had in this game, 15 tackles for losses, negative plays, 11 of them came on first down. So they put Mississippi State in tough down and distance situations. There was only one play in the game in which they got real positive first down yardage. Now, they did get a couple of early explosive plays on third downs in the run game. But when you start out behind the 8 ball, that's very difficult to stay on schedule and keep your offensive playbook in tow. And I thought that's where the difference was in this game from a defensive standpoint in particular for LSU.
Chris, did you get the feeling, okay, we know the final score was 19-6. We know it was 9-6 relatively late in the ball game. And, of course, one play can change the leader of that game in a hurry. But my opinion, LSU appeared to be a lot better than a 19-6 difference of margin over Mississippi State. But, scoreboard read 19-6. What were you after you looked at everything?
I agree, and you're right. And there is kind of a great point that you're pointing to is you can control the game at the line of scrimmage. But if the scoreboard is only a one possession away, you're just one mistake, one fluke thing, a ball bouncing the wrong way, and all of a sudden you're trailing and maybe you're losing the game. And it's one of the things about it that you got to put people away, and sometimes you've got to take some chances to put teams away, because if you keep them in the game, you're constantly relying on being incredibly efficient on special teams and on defense the entire game, and sometimes you blow a leak a little bit. Somebody makes a mistake, and you don't want to lose the game on 1 or 2 plays when you are, in this case, I think quite a bit better. I think they're much better personnel-wise. When you consider Mississippi State's injuries, they're not as deep. I thought LSU was clearly the better team. So you're right. It felt like a game it felt, quite frankly, like a 19-6 game most of the game, even though it was very, very close. And then you got the big play, and then you got the sense that when LSU was up, more than a touchdown, that there's
when it was 16-6, you didn't think Mississippi State scored twice. Certainly could bust one play or get a freaky, something crazy could happen, but you didn't. Nobody thought Mississippi State was going to drive twice, especially with their backup quarterback, and score to beat LSU late.
But if you got to lead 9 or more, you avoid that disaster play. It's kind of like in basketball. You're up by 5. The worst thing can happen is you get a 3-point and a foul. You want to avoid that as much as possible. And I think particularly when you're the better team, you want to be able to put a team away. And it took them a while to get that done. But there's no question that you felt like, at least I did, looking at it live and then looking at it on the coaching tape, that LSU was the better team. They just didn't put it away until later.
Let's get some quick comments from Coach Miles about some awards and honors that were bestowed upon 3 different LSU football players.
The guys that won awards in this last week, Mo Claiborne was the National Defensive Player of the Week. In the SEC, Benny Logan was the Defensive Lineman of the Week, and Odell Beckham was the SEC Freshman of the Week. That tells you that there's some guys that are, recognizing, some spectacular play from some of our young people.
Chris Landry. Mo Claiborne gets the Walter Camp National Defensive Player of the Week by the Walter Camp Foundation. 2 interceptions, a pass broke up. He's now got 7 career interceptions. And Mo Claiborne, certainly any offensive coaches, staffs that are going to go against LSU, they're going to know where number 17 is.
Well, a couple of things stand out to me with Mo. He really plays good technique. He squats well. He positions himself well. You know, he gets his right foot forward, and he does a good job with his jam technique, getting good position. He reads routes well. He tracks the ball well in the air. He's always in good position. So, and listen, it's not a complicated defense to run. You see his ability to in position right there and then adjust to the ball and track the ball well and go up there and catch it. It's his ball as much as the offensive player's ball. That's what he does very well, and he's been very, very productive and obviously having a really good career. In the secondary, that is very talented, very good. He, from a technique standpoint, from a leadership standpoint, kind of stands out.
Benny Logan, the sophomore from Coshada, was named the SEC Defensive Lineman of the Week. 5 tackles, 3 among the 15 tackles for losses for the LSU Tigers. Here's a guy that didn't have a lot of glitter and stuff all over him when he came out of high school, but as Coach Miles said, this guy has worked hard. He's earned everything he's got, and he's a darn good football player.
And he's getting a lot of single blocks because Michael Brockers is causing a lot of attention and a lot of consternation from opposing offensive line coaches and players. And Benny's really stepped up. He's feeling pressure well. He's not taking himself out a lot of plays, and he's really doing a good job finishing plays. And listen, it's a good opportunity when you're playing up against an elite player that's causing that much attention from a block standpoint. You've got to be able to step up and make plays, and he's doing that very effectively. That whole defensive line is 8 deep, is playing well in a very good rotation, and everybody's getting their opportunities to shine.
And quite frankly, if they start double teaming Benny Logan or putting more attention to him, Michael Brockers might be the defensive lineman.
Well, there's no question about that. Michael's splitting double teams right now. He's kind of an elite player that, again, as you kind of alluded to, but the stats don't really tell the story. It's when you put on the film, you see Mr. Brockers really standing out.
The third and final Tiger to get some awards, freshman Odell Beckham Jr. from Newman High School in New Orleans. 8 catches, that should say, receptions for 61 yards, long of 13. Both his mother and father student athletes at LSU and very accomplished ones, in particular his mom as a track performer. Odell Beckham does not look – he's one of those guys, the old cliche, Chris, he doesn't look like a freshman out there.
Well, the biggest thing that jumps out to me is his catching radius, his ability to catch it out of frame and adjust to the ball. He's got natural instincts there. He has a real niftiness about his route running ability. I think he's done a good job. I think certainly as he learns to understand coverages a little bit more, where to sit, how to stem his routes at the top, make moves to get defenders off their feet, I think he's going to only get better. He's working hard, and he's got a good attitude, and he's got the ability to become an effective after the catch type player. And then, as we'll talk about a little bit later, you add Russell Shepard to the mix. This only makes it a little bit deeper and creates more weapons and more coverage attention that needs to go elsewhere. He's only going to get better and grow in this offense.
Chris, before we move forward to West Virginia and the road trip coming up, any final thoughts or comments on the victory on the road? Anytime you win on the road in conference play, we know it's a special deal. Don't take it lightly. Don't take it for granted. Do you have any further comments on LSU 19, Mississippi State 6?
You know, it wasn't a great game from a special team standpoint, from a field position standpoint. They were able to overcome it. It wasn't a bad game by any stretch, but they didn't get the big returns and flip the field in that regard. They were patient with their offense. They were workmanlike. They were efficient with the passing game. Yes, it is a very risk-averse offense, but they understand what they have. They understand the advantages that they have. They exercise those advantages with patience. They're a much more physical football team. They dominated on first downs, and that really on both sides of the ball, and that was the difference. Even when they were not getting as much success on the ground, they stayed patient with it, and they forced the coverage to come to them and work upward. And when they did, then they took a couple of chances. And listen, I think they could have had more explosive plays on first downs. They understand, Tommy, that against certain opponents, that the only chance of not winning is if they are too risky on offense and put the ball in harm's way. I thought they did a good job of managing the game very well, And I thought, they felt like they had the advantage, and now it's off to a West Virginia team that creates some different dynamics. We'll get into that, but I think they're going to play it in a much similar vein.
And, I'm going to stand by what I said last week. I do think Mississippi State is a better football team, certainly than they were 2 seasons ago, a little better than last year. We know about the losing streak to LSU, and the only SEC West team they've beaten in the last couple of years is Ole Miss. We understand all that. But I still think Coach Mullen's doing a good job. How many games will they win this year? I don't know. But I think they are better. And what I'm saying may just be a compliment to how good LSU just might be before the
Well,
season's
in
over.
28 games under Dan Mullen, only twice has Mississippi State not run the football for 100 yards or more, and this was one of them. I mean, and it was a direct correlation to the fact that this is a very difficult defense to run the football on. So when you're a downhill running team, a spread option that's going to attack downhill and then work the play action off of it, and you are averaging or you gain only a negative 5 yards on first downs, play action doesn't work very effectively. So that, to me, was the difference, and I think it was very indicative of the opponent that they played against. And listen, they're not a deep team, and when you have some injuries on the offensive line, and Tobias Smith, their fine guard, goes out in the first quarter, that doesn't help things against this defensive front. So I thought they were limited, and they played with emotion. Really surprised, as we alluded to earlier, that they were in the game 9-6 going into the fourth quarter. That was all you can ask if you were them.
College game day has never been to Morgantown, West Virginia. Football has never been to Morgantown, West Virginia. I think of West Virginia, I think of Jerry West, is Zeke from Cabin Creek, the NBA legend. But LSU and game day will both make a trip into there. LSU will fly up to Pittsburgh on Friday, stay right outside of Pittsburgh in Canonsburg, Pennsylvania, before busing over to the stadium for the game. Here's some comments from Coach Miles and some of the players talking about the national exposure of this game and the road to Morgantown, West Virginia.
Yeah, I think our guys understand big games and understand loud crowds and big stadiums, and I think it's a nice opportunity to start the season with some real quality experiences that will lend us to the remainder of the schedule.
Yeah, so because we're kind of disappointed about our ranking last year, and we wanted to be in like the top 5, and we got it this year, so we got to keep it and show why we deserve it.
I try not to let that affect me too much. It's nice to be in the top 5, but at the end of the day, that don't mean anything. You can be ranked number 1 and not win a championship. So we just take care of, on a weekly basis, we got a team in front of us that's in the way of where we want to go, so we got to take care of them first.
This won't be foreign to this LSU football team when we go to West Virginia. We'll expect a loud crowd, and we'll expect a quality opponent, and we'll expect to play a tight ball game. So, those things benefit us, and certainly the media exposure. When you're in as many homes as our LSU Tigers are, it's something that it really speaks to the recruiting and really the reputation of the program. So very much enjoy how we've started the season to this point. West Virginia is a very good football team. I've really been looking forward to this because I've been told that Morgantown's a wonderful place to play, that their game day experience is very much like an SEC game. A very, crowd that's into their team and makes a lot of noise. And I can tell you that our guys enjoy that kind of environment. They tell me that the college game day will be there, and it's, again, another national primetime TV game. That speaks to us. Our guys love that environment. That'll be fun for us to play in.
We really happy about going there because it's something new that we get to experience, going to a new state that many of us haven't been to, and to a new stadium that you always hear about on TV and stuff. So it's gonna be a lot of fun.
Sure, it'll be a little rougher, but we'll go down there with the same attitude we did at Mississippi State and be ready to go.
I haven't played at this stadium yet, so it's gonna be a new experience for me. But from watching TV in high school, I know it's going to be an exciting atmosphere to play in.
Yeah, I can't wait. My girlfriend of about the last 6 years now, her whole family's from West Virginia. Her dad, all of her brothers went there, so they're all ready. They got their moonshine brewing up. They're getting ready for the game. But I'm excited, man. I'm just thankful for the opportunity to get to go to an atmosphere like that, because that's the best part about college football, are these different stadiums with their different traditions, and to get to do something that I guess no LSU team has ever been there before. I don't know, but to get to do something like that, it's just gonna. I'm looking forward to it, and I can't wait to go to Morgantown.
Morgantown, West Virginia. It's a little bit different. We'll leave it at that, although they have a tradition that I've come to learn about. I think I heard about a few years ago, and it's been talked about in some of the national stuff I've read on the internet. Chris, why don't you tell everybody what they like to do after the Mountaineers win a football game in Morgantown?
Well, it's a very unusual tradition. I'm not quite sure I can compare it to anything else, but they have it's kind of a tradition where if you have a couch that you put on a porch, an older couch, not one that that you just got in the house to check out of the living room, but they have a tendency to celebrate great victories by burning couches. Not quite sure where it started. It's only in Morgantown. It's not a whole West Virginia thing, but it's a unique place. It's I don't know. I don't know that I can explain that any more than I can explain rolling toilet paper in Toomer's Corner or whatever the case may be. But it has a little bit of an SEC feel to it. I've been to Morgantown many times, and in particular, their big rivalry is Pitt. It's the backyard brawl, as they call it, and that can get pretty nasty and pretty ugly.
Their stadium seats about 60,000 people, if I remember correctly, and I think it's safe to say that, as we point out to people, they do sell beer in this stadium, and maybe that has something to do with the first couch that ever got torched.
No, I don't think it has anything to do with the beer. I think it has to do with the liquor that they tend to make as part of their tailgating process.
Under the moon?
and it's the fact that they will take old bathtubs and they will work that out and spend and it is a night game, and so I think that while that is good to some degree, it gives them all day to prepare, if we say so. No, it's really a great place. Don't recommend flying into Morgantown. Did it once, we'll never do it again. I'm not real fond of the plane hitting tree limbs as we leave, and not a big fan of that. Fly into Pittsburgh, very close. It's where you want to stay anyway. But it's a real good place. Seriously, you got a guy with a musket. Don't get scared if you go to the game. You're going to hear the musket go off. They're going to, it's a real interesting environment. Very SEC-ish in terms of its crowd noise, crowd support. No, it ought to be a really good experience because it's a unique one. For LSU fans that maybe haven't made that trip, it's going to be a lot of fun. So,
if we can get the graphic back up there, we're taking a look at this matchup between West Virginia. By the way, LSU will be the only team in the nation who, in their first 4 football games, will play 3 ranked teams. Mississippi State was ranked when LSU played them in Starkville last Thursday. But you see the numbers there. LSU 2 in the AP, 3 in the USA Today. West Virginia number 16 in both of those polls. Last week, West Virginia got out to a big lead against Maryland, kind of hang on at the end. We told you LSU defeated Mississippi State 19-6. These two teams played in Baton Rouge last year. LSU coming away with a 20-14 victory. Teams are different in many ways coming into this season. There's some key personnel that have been changed out offensively, defensively, special teams on both of these squads. But as I mentioned, LSU going to be the only team in the nation to play 3 ranked teams in their first 4 games. Northwestern State Demons, of course, being the unranked team. And it's college game days there. It's national TV. It's prime time. A lot of eyes of college football are going to be looking at Morgantown come Saturday night.
Well, and of course, I don't think it's going to happen, but West Virginia would love nothing more. Their fan base, their administration would love nothing more to be a part of the SEC. As we talk about conference expansion and on radio, and we'll get to it a little bit later, they love nothing more than to be able to beat a top 3 ranked team in the country in the SEC and have a great atmosphere in that whole game day environment. So I think they're going to put the best foot forward. I think they do understand, and Dana Hargison, who's the biggest difference in this West Virginia team and his offense, he'll do a good job there. But from a personnel standpoint, I think they understand it's going to be a tough matchup, and they're going to have a special game and have some special things happen in the way of creating turnovers and on special teams to pull off the upset.
Don't forget, as soon as this ball game's over, at about 10:30 on Saturday night, give or take a few minutes, it's the Phones First, WJBO Pelican Sports TV post-game show with Richard Condon and me, Tommy Christ. As soon as that game clock says 0-0-0, Get your radios on WJBO 1150 AM, your televisions on Pelican Sports TV, Baton Rouge, Lafayette, and New Orleans, and we'll take your phone calls. Phones first. That's what WJBO is known for, the partnership with Pelican Sports TV, simulcasting that post-game show immediately following LSU and West Virginia. When we come back, Chris, Coach Miles, Coach Holgerson, lots to come as we'll preview the Mountaineers of West Virginia right here on Tigers Roar, Pelican Sports TV.
Hi, I'm Troy Landry. You're watching Pelican Sport TV. I'm fixing to shoot him. Shoot him.
When you go hunting for tires, be sure to go to Hunt's Tire and Car Care, established in 1988. Hunt's Tire offers complete car care services and can meet all of your tire needs. From north to south, east to west, come see Les for the best. Michelin tires and great service. Call 272-7404. Relax in the customer lounge while waiting for your vehicle. Serving the greater Baton Rouge area since 1988, Hunt's Tire and Car Care is ready to serve you.
Explore the charms of the North Shore and visit St. Tammany Parish. Whether you're looking for a cultural experience or an adventure, you'll find it here. Enjoy great attractions and fantastic dining in a relaxed and friendly atmosphere.
Come visit us and discover the history and heritage that is Louisiana's North Shore.
For more information, log on to louisiananorthshore.com/bb.
Hi, I'm attorney Kerry Bryson. My law firm focuses specifically on helping people try to solve their IRS tax problems. Lately, so many new out-of-state companies are popping up claiming that if you send them money, they can resolve your IRS problems. Well, what happens if they don't? Do you hire an attorney? Maybe you should start with a local attorney that's already handled hundreds of IRS cases right here in Louisiana. When you hire the Bryson Law Firm, you won't be speaking long distance or sending money to some out-of-town high-pressure salesman. You'll meet with us in person at our office right here in Baton Rouge. Your first visit is completely free and confidential, and we'll tell you on the spot exactly how much it'll cost. So if you're hiring a company to resolve your IRS wage levies, bank levies, or tax liens, check their reputation first, then call me, Kerry Bryson, or go to brysonlawfirm.com. If you're a Louisiana resident and you have an IRS problem, hire a Louisiana attorney, Kerry Bryson.
The family dental practice of Dr. Farrell Fruget Jr. and our highly trained staff are dedicated to providing care and treatment to our patients of all ages in all aspects of dental care. 23 years of experience and advanced training in cosmetic and restorative dentistry, TMJ, and treatment of snoring and sleep apnea allows Dr. Fruget to assist you in achieving the best in dental health. Call us today at 292-9700 to schedule your initial evaluation, because we know how to make you smile.
We continue with Tigers Roar. We ask you to spread the roar about this program. The Bryson Law Firm wants to bring you this Tigers stat of the week. LSU is 47-4 in night games under Les Miles compared to an 18-13 mark in the day game. Any tax problems you have, any resolution to a tax situation, you've seen the commercials here on Tigers Roar, call Kerry Bryson at the Bryson Law Firm. You see the Baton Rouge number, the Lafayette number, the New Orleans number. You can also go to brysonlawfirm.com. Your first visit, your first consultation is totally confidential and totally free, and then they'll let you know what your cost would be. We're proud to be partnered with Kerry Bryson and the Bryson Law Firm. Chris, let's get into West Virginia. Kind of a different story, if you will. Coach Dana Holgerson was the coach in waiting under Bill Stewart. That kind of came apart at the seams, led to the fact that he was named head coach a little bit prior to maybe the original plan. But he's in his first year as head coach, but he has gained a name and a reputation as a pretty good offensive mind.
Well, it's really good offensive mind. He learned a lot of football for some good coaches. The biggest influence he's had into his philosophy is Mike Leach. You see the Texas Tech background there, several years, and, of course, did a good job going to Houston as their offensive coordinator, then went work for Mike Gundy at Oklahoma State, and that's actually Oklahoma State in 2010. So he's really done a good job. It's a well-designed 4 wide receiver spread offense. They've got good receivers. They spread you and they work you horizontally, try to run the football after they spread you. But it's a pass first, and then try to run the football, try to get your defense coming up, then work the play action. You see them running the football here against Maryland. It's all set up, though, by their horizontal spread. Their offensive line, not good coming off the ball. They don't really try to do that. They understand that they're going to get you spread out, try to attack you with the quick-hitting passing attack, and then try to gash you up the middle by getting you displaced from your up front position. So Geno Smith, you see him throwing the football, much improved. You could see the effect that Dana's had with him. Quicker decision maker than he was last year. Strong arm guy, can make all the throws. But it's really about the quick hitting passing attack. They work the bubble screen very well. Tavon Austin, who we'll talk about a little bit, is their outstanding go-to receiver, but he's also effective on the bubble screen and very effective on the jet sweep. So in this game, how you try to go up against an LSU front, you're not going to move this front. They're going to try to take the athleticism of LSU's defensive front and try to use their free flow ability against them and try to run a lot of misdirection. So it's going to be an interesting matchup, and one in which I think is going to be a challenge for LSU defensively in terms of their tackling ability at safety, at corner, at outside backer. It's not going to be a case of dominating up front, because that's not West Virginia's going to try to work out of that and try to get rid of the ball quickly.
West Virginia's scheme is a little bit different. Everybody knows that now, even though we're early in the season, and it is first-year head coach Dana Holgorsen. Here's some comments from Coach Miles and the players, as well as some audio comments from Dana Holgorsen's Big East conference.
There's a much different challenge, and it's one that you have to give view to, and rushing the passer is generally the same, but the route combinations, how they get it off, the way they put their passing game together certainly is much different, and it requires some adjustment.
We worry a little bit more about scheme, and when you play a team like this that has talented individuals at every position, and they got backups that are talented as well, then you don't worry too much about matchups. You worry about scheme, and you worry about, each guy just, doing their part and doing their job and trying to win individual battles, but also just worry about the scheme to where you try to take advantage of what they're giving you.
It's a much different attack than it was in the past. There was they had that Noel Devine and a number of guys there that that operated with a little different premise. They still run the football very well. They still throw it extremely well. So, as much as it's different, it's still very, very productive.
Chris, I'll give fans of LSU and followers of college football a lot of credit. They know a lot more about the game than fans did 15, 20, and 25 years ago. But when we hear coaches say a scheme is different, I mean, fans now are used to the wide open, the multi-receiver sets, an empty backfield, and zone reads, and fans have a much better understanding of that now, as I said, than they did previously. But when you start hearing coaches saying it's different, I think fans maybe not processing that like coaches or somebody like you that's been there and done that would do it. So why don't you elaborate on what is different about this West Virginia scheme under Dana Holgorsen?
Well, let's take a look, because LSU fans have watched LSU play Oregon and Mississippi State. Oregon's offense is a spread run offense, and they'll work play action off of running the football, but they want to spread you out, huge line splits, and use their horizontal run game. Mississippi State's a zone read offense, like to run downhill, like to run on the perimeter, and then work the play action off of that. This is a predominantly 4 wide receiver spread offense that works the quick hitting passing game, and they work that passing game to get to the running game. Once they get you spread out and get you small, as we like to call it defensively, covering that quick hitting passing attack, then they try to run inside with that. And then the big plays for them come after they get you to defend the run, then they go deep. So it's 4 wide spread horizontal passing attack, then run out of that, and then hit you deep once you come up and play it. A lot of bubble screens, a lot of jet sweeps, a lot of quick hitting passing game. So how do you play it? Well, if you play offense soft, then they're going to certainly work the underneath and try to break tackles. If you play tight coverage, then you're a little bit vulnerable to the big play over the top. So you got to mix it up a little bit. And how do you pressure it? Well, you still want to pressure it, but you want to pressure this type of an offense with your base pressure. You allow maximum guys in coverage. They're going to get the ball away, but if you can kind of collapse that pocket, get in Geno Smith's face a little bit, then that ball comes out maybe a little bit quicker, not as accurate, then you can make a play on the ball a little better. You see this little quick hitting game and make you miss. That's their big plays that they work off the short passing game. You see over the middle, they'll dump it off. They get a lot of crossing routes. The screen game's very involved. The misdirections, that's what they try to do out of the spread set. And the quarterback's done a good job picking things up, making quicker decisions, and that's made their offense more effective. They've got 3 backs that they'll use. In the red zone right here, that was a little quick diamond formation where they'll use that a lot. That gives them some run options, some zone read options. And then Smith is capable of extending the play a little bit. Very effective, get a guy loose over the middle. They do that a lot because they spread you out and then try to run a lot of crossing routes, try to get you confused. You got to be careful defensively that what you see pre-snap is not necessarily what they're going to be post-snap. You can guess, and if you guess wrong, you can give up a big play. And, of course, this LSU team doesn't want to give up a cheap score because then you're playing from behind. That's not LSU's game. But the quick passing game, 4 wide receiver spread, that's the key thing you want to look out, and then they'll try to run the football out of that spread look.
Here's some comments from Coach Miles, from some of the players, and some more audio from Coach Dana Holgerson talking about the West Virginia offense and their scheme.
Offensively, they're a very, very talented offense. They've got a great quarterback. They're averaging 42 points and 435 yards per game. They're rushing it for about 80 yards and throwing it for a bunch. And they've converted 45% on third downs, 27 of 38, or 17 of 38, excuse me. And it just lets you know that they're very efficient, that their quarterback handles situations well. Remember him from last time we played. Good strong arm, really good feet, can scramble out of the pocket, has thrown only 1 interception in 118 attempts. His completion is just under 70%. Again, they move the ball around. 4 players have had at least 10 receptions. One of their most dangerous is Tavon Austin. He's also a kick and punt return guy with real speed. So we're gonna be challenged yet again in a little different way by the West Virginia offense.
Our balance has always been our goal. With balance is, everybody looks at balances as how much you run it and how much you pass it. Well, we've always done this for a long, long time, back 15, 20 years ago with Hal Mummy and Mike Leach, and spreading the ball around to specific people has always been one of our goals, So you can put 5 skill guys out there, and our goal is to spread the ball around to all 5 of them and make 5 guys as productive as we possibly can. Devon Brown's, the 4th receiver that, he had 100 and some yards the previous game, So between those 4, they've done a good job of making some plays, and we got to continue to develop the running back position to where we get 1 or 2 of those guys in the mix as well.
They're very comfortable throwing it, they put it in the air, and again, with a quarterback that has the ability to pull it down and make some plays with his feet.
Oh, he's matured a lot, and I see that he's taking on the offense a lot better than he was last year. Because when he came to Death Valley, he was kind of shook. We seen him get on the guard instead of the center one play, so we know his nerves were kind of bad.
Well, it's the beginning of the week, so I haven't seen too much film on them yet, but just off memory, last year, they like to get guys in open space. They have faith that they can make the first guy miss and get some extra yards after catch, so that's what I'm expecting this week.
2 things. One, we played better up front, and that was good to see. They pretty much proved our point that, they were capable of finishing blocks and springing the running backs free and getting us some pretty good pass protection and all that. It's definitely going to be a challenge this week. They do have as good a D-line as there is out there in the country, and they got about 8, 9 guys that they can roll in there, which, which all look the same to me, you know. So we know we're not going to be able to wear them down because of their depth. And so then it's just going to have to be, you know, we're just going to have to execute and do our best to hang on.
They like to check their play at the line a lot. Like he'll say his cadence, then look to the sideline, get the play from his coach. So we're going to have to do the same thing. Like if they change the play, we might have to change our coverage.
There's much more run in this offense than in the past Texas Tech's offense. So, but yeah, there is some strong similarities. The want and the enjoyment of throwing the ball certainly is the first.
Let's take a look at some statistics of some of the key players for the West Virginia team. It starts with quarterback Geno Smith. You saw him in Tiger Stadium last year. His numbers this year, 82 out of 118. He's got over 1,000 yards passing, 7 touchdowns to 1 interception. That's a good ratio. A big kid.
Big kid. He's mobile, strong arm. And listen, the completion percentage, because they protect the football, throw the short pass. So, they do a good job with that. And listen, their short passing game is an extension of their running game. And that's what I think people have to understand a lot about. When you work the screen game, you work the misdirection, the quick-hitting passing game, that's an extension of the running game. It's part of your run series, and they do that very well. And how they run it, Les was talking about they run the football more. Well, they run it once they set it up with the passing game. And then when they run the football effectively, they can do this. They can go deep on you and make a big play. And so that's what they do. And they have quick guys that look all the same. Tavon Austin's very good. Stedman Bailey is the best perimeter receiver. He's very effective. Tyler Urban is the H-back build guy. He's the 218-pound guy. They don't play with the tight end. They have 3 big fullbacks that they'll utilize at times, particularly in that red zone diamond formation. They'll put one in. But they're a 4 wide receiver set. So you are going to be in dime look your entire game. And they're going to challenge you and make sure that from an assignment standpoint, you do a very good job down in and down out, because they run a lot of crossers that'll get you crossed up and false step, and then all of a sudden the guy's running free.
Let's take a look at the stats of running back Bernard Roberts. He's the go-to guy this year. Of course, they had Noel Devine last year, who LSU did a good job again, but freshman Bernard Roberts, not a lot of numbers yet, couple of touchdowns in short yardage situations, but 5'9", 184. West Virginia likes this guy when they do run the football.
Well, yeah, he's a good back. He is a guy with a lot of talent. I think they have a little bit more. They're all kind of quick scat back types in this mold. I mean, Lindemann is a similar type guy. I think Andrew Bowie's a similar type guy. So they've got 4 guys that they're all interchangeable with skill sets to take the underneath handoff and have good quickness to be able to get you to and through the hole, again, once they spread you out. So they've got a number of guys, and it's when they get in the red zone that's real interesting, where they use that diamond formation where they get 2 or 3 of those guys and a fullback in there. They can play fake off of that, or they can run it, and it's very difficult to try to figure out where. It's a very gimmicky, seems like a backhanded compliment, and I think maybe that's the wrong word. But they're very, very scheme diverse, and I think one of the things that they want to do, and they got away from under Bill Stewart, is, and why I think Oliver Luck wanted to bring in a guy, the athletic director at West Virginia, bring in a guy with an offensive background that was kind of an offensive guru like Rich Rodriguez, and Dana fits that mold. I mean, they're going to be exciting. They're going to be tough to figure out. This will be a more of a mental taxation for this LSU defense than physical. It's about making sure you're lined up correctly, making sure there's no false steps, because they're going to give you more looks than anybody, including Oregon and Mississippi State combined, put together. That's going to be the challenge.
All right, here's some stats on Tavon Austin. His receiving-only stats. We'll look at his special team stats a little bit later. But he's their go-to guy, number 1. You've seen a lot of clips of him. Again, small guy, but he's the kind of guy that Holgorsen likes to get the ball in open space and make some things happen. Kicking it over to the defense, let's hear from Coach Les Miles, from some of the LSU players, as well as from, again, Coach Dana Holgorsen's audio from his Big East press conference, talking about the West Virginia Mountaineer defense.
Defensively, they're a very stingy defense. They're allowing 316 yards per game, 116 yards rushing, and 200 passing. They play an Okie front and move linebackers all around, and it's again, it's going to be a little bit different challenge for us offensively, and making sure that our guys are again comfortable with the techniques and the changes that go on when you play an Okie front.
I think they run like kind of like a 3-3-5 look, as opposed to a lot of teams are 3-4, 4-3. So it's just they can come at you from a lot of different angles and run a lot of different guys through. But that's one of those things about playing Division I college football. You got to be willing and able to adapt to that kind of challenge, and I think we're ready for it.
Maryland, we knew going in, Maryland didn't hang on to the ball very much. I mean, they did. In that first game, they threw, about 95% of their passes were out of that quarterback's hand before the D-line even had a chance to get there if they weren't blocked, So, Maryland does a good job of that. They're a lot like we are on offense as far as, trying to take advantage of screens and quick game, get the ball out of their hands. When those situations arise where the quarterback hangs on to it, we just got to do a better job, we feel like we got a couple guys that know how to rush the passer. It's just about, taking advantage of the opportunities when you get them.
Their secondary is very good. They got a veteran corner in Keith Tandy and strong safety Terrence Garvin that a number of starts, and they look like a veteran safety. They're always in place. They're always making tackles. They're a real quality group.
Obviously, this is a very talented West Virginia defense. I think last year I read some stat like they never gave up over 24 points in a game or something like that. So it's no joke. We're not going to be able to come out there and take them lightly and expect to be successful. We got to focus and execute. Obviously, it's a nationally ranked team. They're a very good team, and we got to come to work this week.
Chris Landry, your analysis of the West Virginia defense.
Well, just like their offense is very scheme diverse, their defense, that 3-3-5 stack look, Terrence Garvin, their strong safety, is essentially a linebacker build. And what they do in that 3-3-5 look up front, they've got a nose tackle, a zero technique, a 3-technique defensive tackle, and a 5-technique defensive end who's their best rusher, Bruce Irvin. What it does, it takes 3 athletic, instinctive safeties and put them on the field. And their corners, I think you can throw in their corners, but they're instinctive playmakers on the ball. But there's a little bit of a mismatch I think LSU has with their receivers against their corners. But what this defense does, Tommy, it gives them a lot of diversity with where they move guys around up front. They stem a lot, which is movement by your defensive front pre-snap to give different looks. So you have to be careful. It will be taxing on LSU's offensive line to make sure that they understand where the pressure's coming from and make sure that they have particularly the A and B gap secured where you don't have any free rusher coming free, because they'll send their linebackers or any of their second or third level defenders at any time, but they're pretty stout. The thing that they don't have is a lot of depth. They can't rotate guys in. So I think while they can have success, and they are pretty difficult to run against, facing a consistent, patient running attack that can wear down on you is where they start to struggle. Maryland had some success running against them, and teams that are really good run teams can have success running against them. But as Coach Helgeson mentioned, Maryland was a little scheme diverse and wanted to throw a little bit more because that's what they do well. This LSU team is going to test West Virginia's defensive front and how can they defend the run, because that's how they're built. But it's a little bit of a gimmicky, scheme diverse style on that side of the ball as well. They will blitz. Jeff Castile does a really good job. He'll blitz from a lot of different areas. And, again, Bruce Irvin is the key guy, is the wide 5 technique that you've got to be most cautious about coming off the edge.
That's offense, defense, and, of course, special teams, always an integral part of any and all college football games, and certainly no different here. Here's Coach Miles talking again about a name you've already heard, Tavon Austin, on special teams.
Special teams, again, Tavon Austin's the return guy, quality punter, 42-yard average, and again, a good kicking game. It'll be a great challenge. Again, I have never had the opportunity to take a team to Morgantown. I think it'll be one of those things that our team will enjoy and need to play up to.
saw the graphic on Tavon Austin as far as his receiving stats. Here are his return numbers, both punt returns and kickoff returns. They like having the ball in this guy's hand. You see a 100-yard touchdown kickoff return to his credit already this season.
Well, he's explosive. He hits the hole hard. He's very good. And a lot of their receivers, Stedman, Bailey, Devin Brown are also good returners. But he's the key guy. And this is where, you have to be careful if you're LSU. You don't give up you got to really, it's always important to maintain good lane integrity when you're in your coverage units. But if you don't against a guy like this, then he can gash in. All of a sudden they got cheap score on you, and he's just really fast. I mean, he hits the hole hard. When he gets to the corner, he's very difficult to get a hold of because he's so explosive, and he can make you miss in the open field. So they, again, the effect that they have offensively with their ability to beat you with those quick guys, they utilize this in the return game, and you kind of get a look. He takes it across the field, weaves his way in, cuts back, change of direction skills, and all-and-out speed to take it to the distance is something he does very effective.
That's the 100-yard kickoff return. If we can put that graphic back up to a number that really jumped out at me, the average per punt return, 22 yards on an average of a punt return. It's got to be leading the nation.
No, he's outstanding, and he's first of all, he's got good hands, very decisive, and he gets it upfield, and he makes you miss upfield. Good returners hit it upfield and then make you miss onto the next level. They don't try to bounce it, and all you do is you increase the pursuit angles of the coverage team. He gets it. He understands it. It's the run-after-catch skills that these receivers have that translates to the return game, and Tavon Austin is the best of that bunch, which is why they use him in the reverse game as well. So a lot of those qualities you see in the return game, you got to account for. You have to account for when he's in the game at receiver coming across on a jet sweep. And then what they'll do is they'll fake that jet sweep and throw it opposite of that. So they will try to get you in a free-flowing position and try to work the misdirection game to their favor.
Here's some overall season stats, the big numbers, if you will, as far as the LSU and West Virginia. A key stat, you see how good West Virginia is with red zone scoring. LSU 100%. They're getting it in the red zone, or you're getting some kind of points out of it. They're not coming away without points. We've got a whole nother hour of Tigers Roar for you. This is live every Wednesday night from 8 to 10 p.m. on Pelican Sports TV. If you're catching us Thursday, Friday, or Saturday, you got a little replay going, but we appreciate you being tuned to that. Also, the Wednesday night streams on the internet for your friends and family outside of South Louisiana. It's PelicanSportsTV.com. Pelican Sports TV, known for the hunting, the fishing, the outdoors programming, and lots of other good stuff. To keep up with it all, find us on Facebook. The Facebook page is called Pelican Broadcasting. Well over 2,500 friends now, and we certainly appreciate that. The Facebook page, Pelican Broadcasting, you can keep up with Pelican Sports Radio, The Chris Landry Show, Pelican Sports TV, and many, many other things that we have going on. Our YouTube page has got features that we have put on here on Tigers Roar, some of the activity from some of our high school stuff we do. It's all on YouTube. And, of course, the Twitter account is at Pelican Sports. We've got a whole nother hour for you. We'll break down LSU offense, defense, special teams, talk about the return of one Russell Shepard. We'll also take our weekly run through the LSU athletic department. We'll go around the SEC. We'll talk about the conference shuffle that seems to be changing every couple of hours here nationwide. And when we return, we'll speak to Brian Lazar of TigerBait.com, get his insights, and a whole lot more. With NFL scout and Fox Sports football analyst Chris Landry, I am Tommy Krysan, and you are watching Tigers Roar on Pelican Sports TV. Stay with us.